such as Michael Andretti, second in the kart points. The younger Andretti has 4 poles and 5 wins and sits on the pole here in the challenge. Al Unser Jr. Little Al sits atop the kart PPG point standings. He has 6 victories, including 4 in a row, a kart first. Junior has dominated the ovals with wins at Milwaukee and Michigan. And Rick Mears, the oval master. He won the kart season opener in Phoenix. His 4 poles are second only to Michael Andretti. Danny Sullivan, Mears' teammate, has sat on the pole 3 times this season. He took the checkered flag on the road course at Cleveland. And he knows this track, having won here in 1988. Emerson Fittipaldi, the 3rd driver in the Penske contingent. He has 2 poles this season, including, of course, the great Indianapolis 500. And Emo is the defending PPG champion. Arie Luyendyk came to the 1990 season winless, but changed all of that in May, starting on the front row and winning the Indianapolis 500. Teo Fabi, the Porsche driver, sat on the pole at the inaugural race in Denver to earn his invitation to the challenge and looks to move up from his starting position in the 4th row. Bobby Rahal, in his first year with Chevrolet Power, has been this season's bridesmaid with 5 second-place finishes. But today, he looks for a victory. Mario Andretti, the veteran of this group. Mario has years of Indy cars under his belt. From him, there is more than one reason to strive for victory. Nazareth, Pennsylvania, is his home. Eddie Cheever, a challenge freshman in his first IndyCar season. He's karts and Indy's Rookie of the Year and the only rookie in this proud field. 10 of the best that IndyCar racing has to offer. As ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. From Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania International Raceway, it's the race for the best, the Marlboro Challenge. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and this race is a real braggers' rights event with a great deal of money on the line. For the winner, $250,000. Second place, you drop off another $100,000. It's extremely important to the drivers because there's nothing else at stake except winning. You run just as fast and hard as you can. You try to prove that you are, in fact, the best of the best. But especially at this particular event, we're talking a front row made up of the 2 contenders in the PPG IndyCar World Series points fight, Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. Now, they battled with one another at Miami in the challenge 2 years ago, and there it was a hard-fought contest, rain throughout most of the race, a wet track, and to show you how close the competition came with just 1 lap to go, Al Unser Jr. into the wall, and Michael Andretti on to the win. Both drivers certainly remember that day. Now, besides the bragging rights of being at the top of the order and the money for the win, there's other money available here today. With an update on that, let's go down trackside with Gary Gerald.
Paul, you talk about financial incentive for a race. This one is loaded. $250,000 goes to the winner. And if the winner happens to come from the front row, Unser or Andretti, there's a $150,000 bonus for either man because they've already won this year. Event sponsored by Marlboro. Now, keep in mind, these are the only 2 alive in the regular season points chase, sponsored by PPG, that resumes tomorrow with a 200-miler here and then in 2 weeks at Laguna Seca. Whoever wins that battle for the championship for the year gets another $400,000. $250,000 goes to the runner-up. Big money, big pressure. We're ready to go racing right now in the Marlboro Challenge. Paul?
So there's a great deal of money and a most prestigious title on the line. 100 laps, 100 miles. Derek Daly, you've driven in the Marlboro Challenge. What's the mindset of the drivers?
I know from 2 years ago, the mentality of the drivers is definitely different at an event like this. Now, Al Jr. said yesterday, normally, if the oil light comes on, he takes care of the engine. He said here, if the oil light comes on, he drives it as hard as he can, and if it blows itself to pieces, so be it.
So they're lined up in the pit area at Pennsylvania International Raceway and waiting for the command that will send the challenge underway once again.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
set, ready to go. There's the front row. Al Unser Jr. on the outside of the front. Michael Andretti will start on the pole here. Not only do they take the 100 miles and distance, but they are required to make a pit stop. For a further update, let's go back to Gary Gerald.
Yes, indeed, Paul. There is one mandatory pit stop. Everybody has to complete 10 green flag laps before they can come into the pits. During the pit stop, you must change at least 2 tires, and then, of course, you will add fuel. Since it's the 100-mile distance, unless you're getting outstanding or unheard of mileage, you wouldn't be able to go 100 miles on the allotment here that they carry with the 40 gallons on board. So as far as strategy, most of these teams we think will wait as late as possible to duck in unless there's a yellow, change those 2 tires, get the fuel, and then hope that they've got enough fuel to go the distance, because virtually every crew chief has said fuel is going to be a concern in this 100-mile sprint today. Paul?
A special set of rules for a very special race, the Marlboro Challenge. An invitational for winners, pole sitters, and points leaders. 10 of the best the Indy cars have to offer. So as they begin to roll out now, we'll take a look at the starting grid for this, the 1990 Marlboro Challenge, brought to you by the Die Hard Battery. Now, with more power when you need it most. On the pole, Michael Andretti, the winner of the 1988 Challenge. And Al Unser Jr. will start to the outside, the defending champion and leading money winner in this Challenge Series. The second row on the inside, well, it's Rick Mears. His best finish in this very special event was 5th in 1988. And his teammate, Danny Sullivan, to the outside, twice a runner-up, but looking to cash in on the big prize this afternoon. The third row to the inside, Emerson Fittipaldi. His bid was foiled last year when he ran out of fuel on the final lap. And Ari Lyondike, who is making his 3rd start in this prestigious invitational event. The fourth row to the inside, Teo Bobby ran a strong 4th in his only challenge start just last year. And Bobby Rahal, the winner of the inaugural Marlboro Challenge in 1987. Mario Andretti on the inside of the last row finished 5th last year. And Eddie Cheever, the only rookie in today's star-studded field. So there's the lineup. We'll be back with the start right after these messages.
These championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
A meeting of 10 of the best in IndyCar racing from Pennsylvania International Raceway in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. It's the CART Marlboro Challenge. And today it's brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Goodyear Eagle Radials, the best-selling performance radials in the world. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. On board now with Al Unser Jr. in the front row on the outside as they anticipate a green flag in this 100-mile dash for the honors of being the winner at the Marlboro Challenge. The pole sitter, of course, is Michael Andretti. Now, you may notice there is something written, though it's difficult to read, on the tearaway on his helmet, and that says, "Get well, AJ." And it's certainly an attitude that everybody here feels. A lot of conversation hoping that AJ Foyt recovers just as quickly as he can and is back in an IndyCar very soon. But the front row now comes aligned, ready to go. There's Sandy Andretti. The lucky earrings are on. Only a few minutes drive out to their beautiful home here in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Both the Andrettis, Mario and Michael, live here. In fact, a line of sight to one another. Pace begins to pick up just a bit now as they come off the final turn in this tri-oval. Looking for the green flag. Green flag comes out. The Marlboro Challenge for 1990 is underway, and Michael Andretti ducks low on the inside. But Al Unser Jr. stays alongside, now drops back into second place.
A great start by Michael, but we saw Al Jr. did try to go around the outside of turn 1 and turn 2. A very, very difficult thing to do here.
Bobby Rahal tries a challenge on Emerson Fittipaldi, can't get it done. Michael Andretti, completing lap number 1, begins to pull away just a bit. Then Al Unser Jr., then Danny Sullivan. Michael Andretti, you mentioned at the start, Derek Daly, as we see a battle continuing back between Fittipaldi and Rahal, and now Mario moves up to challenge Rahal as well. You mentioned attention from the driver's attitude, there's no chance to let up whatsoever.
There is no chance, particularly at a racetrack like this. It's so short and it's so fast, the laps go by so fast. But Rahal, you mentioned Rahal, remember, he is on the pole position for tomorrow's live race here. He arguably has the fastest car in this race.
And Eddie Cheever in car number 15, who started in the last starting position, has pulled into the pits. Now, part of the reason perhaps for this, as we continue to watch the battle between Fittipaldi and Rahal, is that Cheever's Lola was pulled out of the lineup at the last second, apparently a fueling problem, and they put his PC-18 onto the grid, and he started in that car. But he's never had a lap of practice here in that machine. So he's into the pits very quickly and has rolled back out after a 9-second pit stop. We continue to watch Fittipaldi now at the front of the field. Here comes Sullivan trying to close on Al Unser Jr.
The three Penske cars run in a line here. You mentioned Cheever's problem. That is a disastrous situation from a driver's point of view, because he needs so much confidence in a car at a racetrack as fast as this and as tight as this. Cheever had never taken a lap, never sat in that Penske car until right on the grid here.
In fact, yesterday Eddie Cheever was saying that he intended to use the same car for both the race today and the regular PPG series event tomorrow. Let's get an update on Cheever's situation. Here's Gary Gerald.
And Tom Anderson, the team manager, is here, and I know that everyone vastly disappointed. You had to go to the older car. You've had no laps in that car, is that right?
We were putting all our money on the Lola for today and tomorrow. The Lola, we believe, is a faster car here. The Penske was only an absolute, and that's what we needed. We had something in the fueling system on the Chevrolet Lolas is a mechanical as well as a electrical. We had some mechanical problem, and I'm not sure exactly what it is right now, but in order to get at that part of the car, we have to remove the engine. And it happened 35 minutes before we had to go to the grid, and I need an hour and a half.
So the hope is you'll have that car for tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Paul?
Michael Andretti now begins to pull away from Al Unser Jr. They're separated by a second and a half, but then Little Al, Danny Sullivan, Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, Mario Andretti, and Ari Luyendyk all lined up together. Then ninth place is Teo Fabi, followed by Eddie Cheever with his 9-second stop in and out of the pits.
Almost every camera angle we see, except the one right here, shows the cars going around corners. It's incredible just how much time you spend going around these long left-hand turns here at Nazareth, and the speeds are so high that this is the racetrack where the drivers all use these special helmet straps or the pads to help support their head, which has got the helmet on, because the helmet doubles the weight of the weight of the head.
So at the front of the field, it is Michael Andretti, who is trying to gain a psychological advantage over his adversary, Al Unser Jr., by dominating this race if he possibly can today, to hopefully put Little Al at a disadvantage when they come back to action in the PPG Series tomorrow. So now, 10 laps completed already, just that quickly as they run around this very tight, the world's fastest mile track, Pennsylvania International Raceway. At the front of the field, Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr. trying to catch up. We'll be back with more from Nazareth.
You see all the prettiest faces at your discount tire store, because everybody likes to save money. Everybody. Discount Tire Company.
Back at the Marlboro Challenge, the Indy cars of CART, Michael Andretti leads it, followed by Al Unser Jr. running in second, then Danny Sullivan, Rick Mears, and Emerson Fittipaldi all lined up trying to challenge for second place. Nazareth, Pennsylvania, the all-star race of the Indy cars, on board with the leader. Fight continues now for third place. Danny Sullivan, Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi. The cars seemingly performing pretty much the same, but look at the difference in line between Sullivan and Mears as Mears closes in, tries to the inside of Sullivan.
Mears is quicker than Sullivan right now. We saw Sullivan change his line ever so slightly through turn 2, and Mears took a run.
Look at Fittipaldi.
The run might have cost him a place, because look at Emerson come down the inside. That's what can happen. If you make a move and you don't get by, you can get past.
On an oval, momentum is critical as Rick tries to the outside, then darts down to the inside. He had to burn up a lot of inertia to do that, but it pays off. He gets past Sullivan. Now Rick Mears sitting in third place. Now Fittipaldi comes past Sullivan as well.
Sullivan is in trouble. Remember a couple of years ago here, a lot of tire troubles when they run a lot of laps here. Now Sullivan is in trouble. Looks like he has a lot of push because he's very slow through the apex and exiting corners.
As Rahal comes up to try and take Sullivan, and does so as Sullivan rolls down onto the pit road. A one-pit stop with a two-tire change in fuel is mandatory here, but where you take it is extremely important to the whole race strategy. Sullivan rolls down toward Penske service. The crew is already there and waiting. Comes Sullivan. Make a front wing change on that car.
That's interesting. They made a wing change. We mentioned about understeer or push. That's why they adjusted that front wing. Sullivan did have some push, but he looks in good shape now.
And 4 tires as well. 15 seconds for the stop, and Sullivan is back into the action, but a change in aerodynamics and all new tires all the way around.
Now we know Mears is the past master at oval track racing. He now has clean air ahead of him on his run to try and catch Al Unser Jr. So that's the battle I think we're going to have to watch over the next 10 laps or so.
We mentioned that Eddie Cheever is out of the action. Now he's with Gary Gerald.
And already out of his Marlboro uniform. And Eddie, I know great disappointment. Your concern now, I'm sure, is will the car that you want to drive be ready for tomorrow's race?
I'm sure the car will be ready. We were just very unlucky with an engine change. It's a bitter disappointment for us at Chip Ganassi Racing. We worked very hard this year to achieve this possibility to run in the Marlboro Challenge, and it was an extra gift I would like to have given to Target, who have been so beneficial for us. We've had a very great relationship this year, and it was a bitter disappointment, I must say. But what can you do? I mean, we decided to get a Lola halfway through the season because the 89 car wasn't working. We ran it, and it just happened in exactly the wrong place at the wrong time.
And I know you'll be refocused and ready to go tomorrow as we go back to Paul Page.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back at the front of the field as we approach the halfway point now. It is still Michael Andretti. Got a glimpse there of Mario and Arie Luyendyk, who are battling now for 6th place. 10 cars started, 9 are still in competition after Eddie Cheever fell out.
Mears has the clear road. We see it here. He drags Fittipaldi with him. So both of those cars are handling similarly, but Mears will see Al Jr. very short because he is closing down on him ever so slightly each lap.
As we watch Mears and Fittipaldi, Derek, we mentioned the importance of tomorrow for both Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr., and that is that the championship very much on the line. How much will those two drivers learn about their cars and this track in this run today?
This is a great run because during qualifying or practicing, they never run more than 3 or 4 or 5 laps at a time. If they do a full tank run, they may run 15 laps. But here, they'll run almost half a race distance. And there's so much more that they can learn about the car, particularly the tires, on how the tires react to harsh treatment under full fuel loads. That's the type of information they'll take into tomorrow's race for the battle for the championship.
Arie Luyendyk continues to challenge Mario Andretti for 6th place. As in doing so, Michael Andretti now begins to close on traffic just ahead of him, and they're on board. Derek, this is exactly what you wanted to see, was the effect of traffic just ahead on the leader of the race, who's running a much faster pace.
The race is just about to start now. We are over halfway, but Michael has Al Jr. all over him, but Mears and Fittipaldi are almost right there in a train. There's going to be 4 cars together in about 3 laps. This race has only just started.
You've driven in this race. If you were driving on this track in this race and you were in Michael's shoes and closed on someone that you couldn't necessarily pass and are threatened like you are, like he is right now, by Al Unser Jr., would you consider making a stop?
I think as long as you're in clear road, I think you need to keep running. Now, if a faster car, I think Al Jr. gained on Michael right there. Look how he gains through turn 2. Michael is not handling that well. I think we're going to see a bit of a defensive line from Michael. Let's see, does he begin to start to move down earlier into turn 3 to protect that line. But look at Mears. He's all over Al Jr. There's Emerson all over Rick Mears.
Well, the interval 1st to 4th has dropped down to 1.1 second. As take a look at the challenge that Rick Mears responds to.
Oh, the 2 Penskes are catching the 2 Lolas. This is the battle. Fittipaldi's all over Mears, but he's looking for a way through Al Jr. Look at Michael, going to try and protect this lead.
And the pace, of course, picking up because the drivers and crews both know that the pit pit stops, 1 mandatory, and the very realistic need for fuel lies not that far ahead. So at the front of the field, it is still Michael Andretti, who led right from the green. Crews stand ready with the tires, and Allinger Jr. tries to chase Michael down. We'll be back with more.
The Quaker State King Racing Buick, winner of the 1989 Die Hard Award for the most tough NASCAR mile, is winning again in 1990 as Brett Bodine takes first in the first Union 400. It takes a tough oil to keep a car running this tough, and it takes a tough driver to step right in, step on it, and win. But number 26 is one tough car. Brett Bodine is one tough driver, and Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
This is how a Ferrari Testarossa looks on the road. And this is how a Ferrari Testarossa looks to the road, where it ultimately responds through the contact patch of its Goodyear Eagle tires. The exclusive tires chosen for every Testarossa sold in America. Goodyear Eagles. They're another reason we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Fittipaldi continues to rip at Rick Mears, while at the same time Bobby Rahal tries to challenge Fittipaldi. The first 5 cars now running very close together on this track, and Allinger Jr. begins to climb all over the back of the leader of the race, Michael Andretti. So in the front 5 positions, we've got a whale of a fight going. At the same time, Ari Leindyke has just managed to dart around Mario Andretti and pick up 6th place. And in doing so, he now begins to close down on Bobby Rahal. So the top of the order still running right together as Rick Mears tries inside of 2nd place Allinger Jr. and Rick picks up 2nd.
Oh, Al Jr. tried to move down, but Rick was there. Look at Emerson come down the inside. Al Jr. saw him come a little bit too late. He moved down, but Rick forced the issue and took the pass. Mears now sets off after Michael, who's coming up to lap his dad, Mario.
Rick Mears on an oval is superlative. Allinger Jr. scored his first oval win at Milwaukee back in June. Mears knows every inch of this track. It is a Penske-owned track, and of course his team owner, Roger Penske, uses it for testing, though Rick says they've gotten this year about the same amount of testing as everyone else who has been at Nazareth at Pennsylvania International Raceway.
Rick is extremely fast through turn 2. Up over the hill and turning left at turn 2 is extremely fast. That's what gives him more momentum down the back straight to turn 3. That, I think, again, is where he will make his attempt to pass Michael, if he gets close enough, and I think he will.
Mears has a superlative sense of balance, which is part of what helps him so much when he runs on ovals. Now as he closes in right behind Michael and is in attack position with Mario sitting just ahead. Mario could very quickly become a factor in this run for the lead.
Turn 2 will be the critical corner. This is turn 2 right here. Mears is extremely fast out in this corner. That's where he gains on Michael. Michael is now in traffic. Mario quite rightly moves out of the way.
Mario heads in the pit road while Mears continues his pursuit of Michael Andretti. So Mario down for routine service out of the Newman Haas stable.
I'm sure Michael would have liked a little bit of family help there trying to ward off this challenge from Rick Mears, but however, I think Mario did the right thing. Now they're down the back straight again. They're going to come on traffic, but this is turn 2. Here's the run down to 3.
Still, Rick Mears maintains position. In 3rd place, Allinger Jr. Emerson Fittipaldi is 4th. Bobby Rahal is 5th. Ari Leindyke runs in 6th place now. And all beginning to meet back up into the same fight. At the front of the field, it's still Michael. He's led from the green flag, but now Mears wants to dispute that situation as Mears flies past on the inside, and for the moment has 1st place. Michael tries to hold on, but Mears definitely quicker as he comes off the corner, and Mears picks up 1st.
We had a great shot of Michael exiting turn 2. He had a little bobble of oversteer, just the slightest little lift. Mears draws up behind him, pulls out into the slipstream, and wham, straight away takes the position. Look at the lead he has now after 1 lap.
Allinger Jr. now coming up to challenge Michael Andretti. Rick Mears at the front of the field. Michael drops back to 2nd. Allinger Jr. now challenging just behind.
Michael just went from 250,000 to 150,000, so he's just lost 100 grand in that move.
So Rick Mears out in front of this field, a man who looks for a win. His last victory came at Phoenix. We asked him about the challenge and what his strategy would be for today.
not a lot of time for strategy. It's a matter of run as hard as you can, and you know, just you've got to keep your fingers crossed and hope the car comes out of the trailer, you know, with the right balance for those conditions on that day. And then you just end up running hard. You know, you just have to run hard from start to finish.
So Rick Mears at the front of this order, though the crew is laid out now for a stop by Michael Andretti and by Al Unser Jr.
The pit
Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Indeed, Michael Andretti on the march, right side rubber change only. They'll top off with what fuel they have left in the tank. Everything looks good right here. We've got a watch running on it at 10 seconds now. Still waiting to get all the fuel in. We've got apparently a problem. They're calling for water. The officials were trying to get a better vantage point. They've got a flame up here. They pulled the fueling hose back. Michael sits in the pit. We're about 10 feet away from a problem on pit wall. They've doused any possible fire, but I don't know if they got the fuel in the tank. Finally off the jacks. Michael Andretti is away in over 30 seconds.
Right at 30 seconds, 30 and a half. Michael Andretti back into the action. Al Unser Jr. was in and out in 20 seconds, and now the leader of the race, Rick Mears, rolls in as well. So the single mandatory and necessary stop being made. Here is Rick Mears to work on right side tires here. Left side seems adequate for Mears, and a very quick stop as he's down in 11 and a half seconds, and Mears is back into the fight.
That's the pit stop there that will help Rick to win this race. Michael had a disaster, 30 seconds. Al Jr. almost 20 seconds, but Rick Mears 11 seconds. 10 seconds saved in the pits is an enormous amount of time on the racetrack.
And Rick Mears comes out right behind Michael Andretti on the track. Arie Luyendyk picks up the lead of the run as Mears goes into the pits. So Arie Luyendyk out in front, leader on the track. Rick Mears slides up into second place, and then Fittipaldi, Al Unser Jr., Bobby Rahal. But Luyendyk has not yet made his stop for the single run.
Mears is not chasing Michael for the lead. Michael is a lap down almost to Rick Mears, so Michael is not in the lead.
An idea how costly a 30-second pit stop can be on a 1-mile oval.
Or should I say, not ahead of Rick on the racetrack.
So Rick Mears trying to chase down Arie Luyendyk, but the pits will change that situation as Arie is due in momentarily. We'll be back. On board with Michael Andretti at the Marlboro Challenge, who is now in the pits for a second time. The first stop cost immensely. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And Paul, Michael lights up the tires. There's a lot of water down here as he gets away, and they came in to get the remaining fuel that they didn't get the first time they had a problem. So the 30 seconds the first time compounded by the fact that he had to come back in. I don't think there's any way in the world now they'll be able to win this thing.
Michael Andretti roars out right behind Arie Luyendyk, and they join Emerson Fittipaldi on the circuit. Fittipaldi is running in second place, trying to chase Mears, who is the leader of the race once again with Arie Luyendyk's stop.
Terrible situation for Michael. We watch him here, led so much of this race before being slowly caught by Mears. He was then passed, and we saw a disastrous pit stop. I'm sure he hoped that tomorrow a similar thing does not happen, because apart from costing him money today, tomorrow that could cost him the championship.
On the other hand, terrific stop for Domino's Pizza Team Shearson. They were 11 seconds in and out for Arie Luyendyk. Leader of the race, Rick Mears, car number 2, the Pennzoil Penske. We've talked about this oval here. There are, in fact, many adjustments that are made to these cars when they run on an oval. Here at Nazareth, the teams must make one more adjustment.
This track fact is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Now, here's Gary Gerald.
During the course of the racing season, the Indy drivers compete at 3 dramatically different mile oval racetracks, starting at Phoenix, moving on to Milwaukee in June, and then late in the season here at Nazareth. Each of these tracks has its own distinguishing characteristics. Nazareth is unusual to begin with because it's tri-oval. It's also unusual because the racing surface here is dramatically different than Phoenix or Milwaukee. This aggregate surface is very dense, and it's very, very smooth. Consequently, you get very little tire wear. You contrast this to the mile at Milwaukee, where it's in a very abrasive surface. It really chews up the rubber on race tires. Now you say, that should be ideal for racing teams. But keep in mind, if you don't wear the rubber off of one of these tires, then you face a potential problem with heat buildup. As that heat builds up, you can get into a blistering problem. And that's exactly what happened the first 2 years that the Indy cars competed here at Nazareth. So the Goodyear engineers came up with a special thin gauge tire. You look at it, you can't see any difference at all, but it's 25% thinner than the tires that are used in the other mile ovals. It's used exclusively here at Nazareth. On the right side of the race car, front and rear, on the left front. The left rear is a Phoenix tire. It's 25% thinner on the fastest mile oval, and yet you get significantly less tire wear here than any other mile oval where the Indy cars compete.
Leader of the race, still Rick Mears, car number 2, the Pennzoil Penske, Chevrolet Power. Emerson Fittipaldi with the stops has moved into second place, but Rick has a strong lead over that second place car. Ellenser Jr. in and out of the pits, good time, but not good enough to keep him up in second. He comes out in third, then Bobby Rahal, Ari Luyendyk runs in 5th place, then Mario Andretti, Danny Sullivan, Michael Andretti with his 2 stops, and one at 30 seconds very long is in 8th. 9th is Teo Fabi. There is Danny Sullivan. All right, it's Fittipaldi there as he works his way around running in second.
Fittipaldi, you'll remember, had a great day here last year when he won the car championship race as opposed to the Marlboro Challenge, which is what we have today. But Emerson followed Rick very closely earlier on, but now a little bit lonely by himself because Mears has just stretched about 15 or 20 car lengths on him.
Mentioned earlier that there is $10,000 available to the man who improves his position the most during this run. Bobby Rahal has worked up 4 positions, Fittipaldi 3, Mario Andretti 3. $10,000 also will be donated to Championship Auto Racing Auxiliary Cara in the name of the winner of the Marlboro Challenge here. A lot of money, a lot of interests. Al Unser Jr., he currently runs in 3rd place. The challenge at the early part of this race to Michael Andretti. Now tries to catch Fittipaldi and move forward. But Rick Mears, again, an absolute master on the ovals, beginning to pull away steadily from his teammate Fittipaldi, who runs in second.
Al Jr. made a lot of changes at the end of the qualifying session yesterday because he didn't like his car. Went for a lot of Rahal settings because Rahal is on the pole. So Al Jr. made a lot of changes that this man here, Bobby Rahal, came up with during his practice and qualifying.
Rahal runs in 4th place. Now trying to roll down behind Al Unser Jr. and catch up. And back behind Rahal is Ari Luyendyk, the Indianapolis 500-mile race champion, car number 30. Rahal in that Craco STP machine. Combination effort this year between the man just in front of him, Al Unser Jr., and the Gallus Craco stable.
I have to say, I expect a little bit more from Rahal.
Let's go down to the pits and Gary Gerald.
Well, just a quick update on the progress of Rick Mears. We mentioned that fuel was a concern of many of the crew chiefs, including the Penske chiefs coming into this race. We've checked on their fuel consumption, and remember, they have the real-time onboard telemetry, which gives them accurate reading of fuel. They're happy right now. They say they're monitoring it very, very closely, but they think they can have Rick continue to push this pace. They've got enough fuel to make it the 100 miles.
Well, it's a torrid pace, 152 miles an hour, the average right now, with now just 10 miles to go. And as he flashes across the line, 9 laps, 9 miles to go for Rick Mears. Just in front of him, that's Mario Andretti. Mears closes on Mario. Mario runs in 6th place, so that gives you an idea of the competitiveness of this challenge. In this very short distance, Rick Mears working his way down through the field and setting a most remarkable pace.
We have such a good day here at Nazareth today. There was a lot of problems earlier in the week when the cars came here on Thursday because it was so cold in the morning sessions. The drivers and teams and engineers would change the cars for that condition. Then if it warmed up in the afternoon, the handling went so bad that a lot of drivers had problems. But today, it's the warmest, brightest day I think we've ever seen for an IndyCar race here at Nazareth.
Rick Mears out in front of the Marlboro Challenge on a beautiful day. In fact, the weather forecast to be beautiful for the entire weekend here at Nazareth, Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, with Rick Mears running out in front and on his way to perhaps a $250,000 payday. We'll be right back. Rick Mears works his way through the field, but look at this. This could be the $10,000 for the most improved position. Gone out the window for Rahal. A puff of smoke at the back of the engine, and Rahal pulls off the line and slows down as Arie Luyendyk comes screaming around with 4 laps to go for Rick Mears, the leader in the Marlboro Challenge. $250,000 to the leader. Second place, $150,000. Not a bad payday, but still $100,000 less than being out in front.
We mentioned earlier on, you drive these things till they break, and that's what Rahal is going to try and do here. Make this last 4 laps. Remember, it's only 4 miles here at Nazareth, but it's a critical 4 miles for Rahal.
Don't forget later tonight here on ESPN LSU at Florida, 7:30 Eastern, and of course live here tomorrow from Pennsylvania International Raceway, the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, as the Indy cars could very well resolve the PPG Championship.
Mears has not made a mistake. Took his chances. He was the best through turn 2. That's where we saw him make all his moves. Fast out of 2. Down this hill here he was faster, and always chopped down to turn 3 right there. That was the difference between winning and losing here today.
So Rick Mears, as he comes onto the straightaway this time, sees the white flag indicating 1 more mile to go. $250,000 lies just ahead for Rick Mears, and perhaps his second victory of the season, his first scored back at the first race at Phoenix, Arizona, as Mears with Mario Andretti right behind on the track, but not in competition with him, just behind. In second place, his teammate Fittipaldi. Allinger Jr. runs in third place as the checkered flag comes out for Rick Mears, the winner of the 1990 Marlboro Challenge. A Penske car powered by Chevrolet. Chris Mears, his wife. Well, a little more into the account for her. Barbara Hellier, the chief scorer in the Penske team, they're happy and excited. Penske finishes first and second with Fittipaldi in second place. Allinger Jr. in third. Arie Luyendyk with a superlative run up to fourth. Fifth place is Mario Andretti. We'll be back to talk with the winner. Rick Mears continues to define his mastery of the ovals as he takes the $250,000 first prize. From Nazareth, Pennsylvania, this has been the CART Marlboro Challenge. And today it was brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. By Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. And by First Brands Corporation, makers of STP oil treatment. STP is the edge. And the Winner's Circle is brought to you by Road Handler, Treadlock Radials at Sears. Tough tires that you can trust. Rick Mears, the winner. He's with Gary Gerald.
Well, for the 4th time in 4 years, a different winner in Marlboro Challenge victory lane. This time it's Rick Mears. How does it feel to know that there's going to be a $250,000 deposited in the old bank account?
I tell you, that's great. And, you know, I just got to thank Marlboro for putting on the Marlboro Challenge. I've always thought it was a tremendous, just another tremendous aspect to IndyCar racing in general. And I tell you, the team did a hell of a job in the pit stops, and the Pennzoil car ran great all day. It just never missed a beat. We had to work on them for a while, but it was good.
You worked on the racetrack to get the position, and then the team really cements it with a terrific stop.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so quick. We kind of had to lay back. I couldn't deal with the turbulence. The car had a little too much understeer in it. I didn't want to hurt the right front tire, so I just kind of waited on everybody and waited. And pretty soon I saw their tires backing up even more so than mine, and that allowed us to start working our way by them. And then once we got in front and got a little bit of a cushion, the guy just did a tremendous stop, and
there was concern about fuel, and yet I guess the fuel mileage was good.
The Chevrolet, it gets great mileage. I tell you, we were in good shape with mileage.
We look at the final results as Mears goes over the $1 million mark for this year's earnings, and Mario Andretti picks up the $10,000 for improving the most positions. Here's Gary Gerald again.
Michael, obviously things looked good for a long period of the afternoon, and then it took a real dismal turn. What, in your mind, really changed the fortunes? Was it the misfortune in the pit?
Yeah, it was. The pit stop, I guess the nozzle, we had a problem with the nozzle like Al Jr. did at Cleveland. It was almost the exact same problem, and we didn't get fuel in it, so then I had to go around a couple more laps and come back in and put fuel in, so I lost 2 laps there. So it was a shame. You know, the car was running just good enough, you know, and, you know, if I would have had a good pit stop and got out in front of Rick again, who knows what would have happened.
And a quick summation, did you learn anything that's going to be beneficial in tomorrow's 200-miler?
I hope so, because there's a few things I think we're going to have to change. The car got a bit loose on me, so we have to change that. I think everybody did. If you know, looking at everybody's cars when you were behind them, they were all loose, so you know, we're just going to have to try to adapt. It got a lot warmer for us than it's been all week, so I think they want it to be warm tomorrow, so hopefully we can make some adjustments, make it better.
We'll come back and check your fortunes tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
So the focus of the PPG IndyCar World Championship returns tomorrow to the IndyCars at Nazareth here at Pennsylvania International Raceway. I'm Paul Page for Derek Daly and Gary.